Tonight, we take you behind the gates of the brand new United States Embassy, a $227 million facility. It stands as a symbol of not only security, but sustainability. The diplomacy that exists between these two nations is long-standing and represents so much more than just this building. Inside, we are talking to officials about diplomacy. We're talking about security and, of course, the all-important consular services. But most importantly, we're talking to the Charge d'Affaires. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. You're watching On the Record. Our discussion gets started right after this break. And this is On the Record. Our first guest this evening is Kimberly Furnish, the Charge d'Affaires at the U.S. Embassy. She joins me here on the set to discuss the significance of the new embassy in which we're sitting, and of course what this all means for the bilateral relationship, America's priorities here in the Bahamas, and the future of U.S.-Bahamas engagement. Charge, first of all, I have to tell you thank you for allowing us into this amazing space. This is an amazing facility that you all have here. I was blown away from the moment I showed up this morning.
Thank you. We're so happy to be in it. It's emblematic of the robust relationship between the Bahamas and the United States of America. We are thrilled to have y'all here, and we can't wait to welcome more folks. It's literally our house. So, and by the way, Jerome, I love your red, white, and blue today.
Thank you. Well, it was very deliberate. I wanted to be, attire appropriate.
It's perfect.
So I've got to ask you, you've been in here just a couple of weeks now. What is it like? It's like moving into a new house, I would gather, a new home. What's that process been like? I know you guys were closed for a minute to the public.
Yes.
To be able to move in. So what's the process been like?
Oh, it was so exciting. I think there was a little bit of apprehension at first. Anytime you make a move or make a change, it's something new and people are a little bit nervous. And I was so excited to bring our staff over. We have a staff of almost 200 people, Americans and Bahamians, and watching them move into their desks, watching them occupy their new spaces, they were just incredibly excited. It was really wonderful to watch because a building is a building, and while this is a beautiful building, people are what make the building. And so when we opened up the building and our employees moved in, that was fantastic. And then on day one, I wandered down to the consular section. That's where we welcome folks who are applying for visas, folks who are coming for their new U.S. passports. And to see those people coming in, that was truly magical, because an embassy is a symbol of relationship, and it's for the people. It's for the Bahamians. It's for the Americans. So that was a great moment of pride. And I started my career as a consular officer. So to go down back to the visa line and to see that in operation here really brought a tear to my eye. Yeah. So it's absolutely joyful.
You kind of answered another question I was going to ask you. Where's your background? But you told me sort of where you started. But what is it? What is it like being a charge in the Bahamas? I have to ask.
It is the honor of my lifetime.
Wow.
It really, really is. Much of my work in the Foreign Service, and that I'm a Foreign Service officer. I'm a career Foreign Service officer. I took an exam, and I wanted to serve my country in some way. And I didn't look very good in a helmet, so I decided maybe a suit would work. And I joined the Foreign Service, and I knew right away I wanted to work with people. They are, like I said, they bring the work to life. And I found consular work. And a big focus of my career has been working with U.S. citizens who are overseas and in trouble or vulnerable. Americans who are imprisoned overseas, Americans who fall ill overseas, and the United States is there for them. In fact, U.S. citizens overseas is the top priority of the Department of State, always has been, and it has been such an honor to serve in that way, and to serve my country in that way. And I think it's one of the reasons I got lucky enough to get this job. We have over 9 million Americans who visit these beautiful shores of the Bahamas every year, and it's just such a joy to do that and to see Americans and Bahamians coming together.
This embassy, of course, replaces an older facility that, those of us who've known the embassy all of our lives, we've known that building. We watched this happen I remember from the moment the land was cleared and just watching it progress over time. Why was Nassau chosen for such a significant investment?
Well, as you know, we have one of the world's most robust relationships between the United States and the Bahamas. It's truly of significance. We are neighbors not just geographically, but culturally and emotionally too. And the United States really wanted to build an embassy that the Bahamas and the United States relationship deserved. And I really think we did. You've needed this all along. The fact that we're right in the middle of downtown Nassau is not a mistake. We wanted to be symbolic of our shared relationship and our shared hearts and unity. And so here we are. Took us a little while to get her done, but she is absolutely gorgeous, and we are so thrilled to be in it.
How does this facility enhance the engagement? And I ask that because people say, well, how does a building fit into a relationship?
Exactly.
But how does this really enhance, or does it enhance the relationship between the Bahamas and the United States?
Absolutely. We're going to have a formal flag raising. We're inviting all of our counterparts and guests in, and that's just the one of many events that will be happening here. We will use this embassy to help make our relationship stronger, safer, and more prosperous. So we'll have business events here. We'll have community events here. An embassy is and should be a living thing and a symbol of our great partnership. So we're thrilled to have this great big old house and have everyone over and enjoy it together. And we're in the Bahamas, so we're going to have some parties too.
No, you've got a big old courtyard out behind us. When I was walking through, I was like,
It's great for dancing. It's great for dancing. We'll cut a rug, absolutely.
Now, many people, when they think of the embassy and they think of the role of the embassy, they think of just the consular sections where you come to get your visas, where Americans come for passports, those kinds of things. But there are so many other things that happen in this building, and you alluded to them. But how does this really also support your foreign policy objectives?
Absolutely, absolutely. As you know, I've said our priorities are keeping our relationship safe, strong, and prosperous. That is the goal for the United States. And, when you're keeping the United States safe, strong, and prosperous, it means you're keeping the Bahamas safe, strong, and prosperous. So we have so many united goals. And by and large, we're doing everything we can to make sure that we stay the best of friends and partners, and that the relationship endures.
You mentioned that it was not a coincidence that this building and this entire facility was in the heart of downtown Nassau. What is the embassy's role in helping or trying to revitalize the city of Nassau?
Absolutely. It's we've met with, we talked about this with the Prime Minister, the Minister of Works. We really want this to be a building that gives back and also doesn't take too much in the environment. We are completely solar powered here, and energy efficient and green. In fact, we have enough energy, and I'm not an engineer, so don't let me get too deep into this question, but we generate enough energy to actually help power the surrounding neighborhood, which is a huge honor. And it's just a great place to be. We are, just a few steps from the cruise port where thousands of Americans are coming off those ships every day. We can see the cruise port from our windows. And it's a wonderful thing to be part of this neighborhood and to give back.
I don't know how you all work all day with such beautiful views that you have.
I
could not imagine having, I'd be very distracted. I just want to put there. But what role really does public engagement play in your mission here? Again, when people think of the embassy, they think of the work that you do. They think just in terms of visas and those kinds of things. But how important is the public engagement to you?
Incredibly important. I'm a people person. This is a people embassy. And people-to-people ties, especially in the Bahamas, are everything. This is a face-to-face culture. Being here, learning the culture. Right before Junkanoo last year over Christmas, I did a shack tour. And I went to
you did a shack tour?
I did a shack tour. I went to every shack. Don't ask me which one is my group because I love them all.
I'll tell you what should be your favorite group, but that'll be off camera.
But it was fantastic, and it was an ability to really understand your culture in a meaningful way. I learned about everything from the way that you craft the costumes and pick the themes, and the history behind it as well. And so when I got to go to my first Junkanoo very, very early in the morning on Boxing Day, I really understood so much more about the people and the spirit of the Bahamas.
Is that what you would call cultural diplomacy?
I think that's safe to say that's cultural diplomacy, yes, and actually awful lot of fun.
And why is that part of what you do so important? Again, we think of all the official work that you do and how you assist Americans and the bilateral arrangements and those kinds of things. But why is that element of what you do so important?
It's important everywhere in the world, but I think even more so because we share a maritime border, because we are such close neighbors, and we share so much history. So bringing those values to light, keeping each other safe, secure, and prosperous, understanding one another is at the heart of diplomacy, and it's frankly just a wonderful part of the job.
So a little known fact, I love celebrations, I love parties. So I have to ask you,
Yes.
America 250 celebrations.
Yes.
What, for those who don't know, what are the America 250 celebrations and what can the Bahamas expect?
We are super excited. So for those who don't know, we're entering in the 250th anniversary of American independence, and it's gonna be a great party. It's gonna be a year of celebrating this partnership, of keeping each other secure and safe. Of course, there'll be parties. We're gonna throw a big Independence Day party. You know, that always falls around July 4th, and we make a big splash. But more and more, we're celebrating our shared values, our shared cultures, and highlighting, you know, what makes this relationship so important.
Outside of allowing us to others to come and enjoy this beautiful facility here, what are some of your goals that you would like to achieve during your tenure here?
Oh, thank you for that question. You know, I think so many have been achieved in that I really want to touch the people and learn. And we're doing that every day. I wanted to get us into the doors of this embassy. And look, here we are, right? I walked in and my name is next to the president's name on the wall. And that is it's such a pride. It's such a prideful moment. And so proud to have done that here. But more and more, as we look big picture, you know, we look at our shared maritime border, we think about the greater issues in the region, and as I said several times, keeping America and keeping the Bahamas safe. You know, there are concerns, migration concerns, narco trafficking concerns in the region. We have a 24/7 task force that runs out of this building. It's called Operation Bahamas Turks and Caicos. It looks at narco trafficking. We have a really robust maritime agreement with the Bahamas. We work hand in hand with the police force and the defense force to help keep both of our countries safe from the elements of these major issues in this region. So that is a huge prideful moment for me as well.
What would you like Bahamians to understand most about the work of the embassy?
Wow, wonderful question. I think I want them to understand that we're friends and friendly. Do we have a large law enforcement presence here? Yes, we do. And the large law enforcement presence is for both Bahamians and for the United States. I wish I could tell them how hard the folks in this embassy work every day on that mission, on that goal, and quite frankly, how much every single one of our officers, American officers, loves the Bahamas. This is the most, I've worked in quite a few embassies, and they were all wonderful, but this one is really special. It is really magical, and I think it comes from this robust relationship, this partnership between the Bahamas and the United States of America. I've not quite seen anything like it, and I would just reassure everyone that the work we do reinforces our strength, prosperity, our friendship, and it's a really, honestly, and it's a lot of fun. I like people to walk into the embassy smiling and enjoy their work. And every day I see that happen, and I'm incredibly proud.
So, Sarge, we are unfortunately out of time for this portion of our show and for your interview. I know we'll have more opportunities to speak, but again, congratulations on opening such a beautiful facility. I wish everybody could have the experience that we had in coming in here to prepare for the show. It's a great representation, as you said, of the relationship between the two countries. And it really warmed my heart to hear you say, you know, you've been in other places, but this is really special. And the relationship is very special to Bahamians as well, I can tell you. We really do share a very unique relationship. And, you know, I look forward to the work that you're going to be doing here. I'm looking forward to coming here more often, definitely for the parties, but all the other great things that you do here. So thank you so very much, and continued success to you.
Thank you, Jerome. I'll save you a dance, and I'll say this, there's nothing we can't do together.
Most definitely, including dance.
Including dance.
All right. So stay with us. All right, so tell us a little bit about this area that we're standing in right now.
We're so thrilled to have you in our state-of-the-art 5-floor facility. And this is really special because this is our brand new cafeteria cafe area.
Okay.
We actually have a Bahamian vendor who's come in, making beautiful food for all of our employees, and we have a place to gather and eat together, which is something we did not have in our smaller facility down the road. So it was a great thing to see. The day one we moved in, all of our employees eating together and having a wonderful time. So it's been a really special place for us to gather. It's also a place where we can come together and have parties and happy hour, which we also did our.
You said happy hour. Right?
Yeah,
okay.
right. We did that our very first week. It's the Bahamas, man, and it looks out over this gorgeous terrace. Right. So employees also have an opportunity to sit outside and enjoy the beautiful Bahamian weather.
Awesome. So I want us to walk along here now.
Absolutely.
To see some of the amazing artwork that you
Yes.
have in here, and I know that's very important to you. Just sort of incorporating local art.
Absolutely.
Done by Bahamian artists into this building. And what, first of all, why was that so important?
Well, we find it's incredibly important for all of our embassies to reflect the local culture in as many ways as we can. So we actually have a division of the State Department. It's called Art in Embassies. Yep. And they actually curated what I call our embassy exhibition for us, our permanent exhibition. So it combines both Bahamian and American artists and some Bahamian Americans. And this is a
I was going to say, this caught my attention immediately.
Exactly. This is what I really think of it as a living sculpture. This is by the renowned Bahamian artist Antonius Roberts, and it's called Canoes, and he crafts out of local woods. In fact, the wood that made this sculpture was found actually on this property. So any trees that we had to have removed, we either saved or we preserved in art. And Mr. Roberts did an incredible job with this, and it just really lights. You can see it from all 5 floors of the facility, and it really lights up the place. We just feel so lucky to have it here. Really, really blessed by it.
It is amazing, and then there's beautiful work here.
Absolutely. These are all by local Bahamian artists. They really honor local culture, local tradition. Here on the right, you have boys playing dominoes, and it's just a joy. Not only does it light up the embassy and tie our cultures together, it's wonderful for our employees to see this every day, and our visitors as well. And it's wonderful. You can see we've got a description of the artists, the mediums that they use, and Art and Embassies just did a fantastic job of curating this for us. So it's a joy to see, and you've got more over here.
This is exciting to me.
Isn't it wonderful?
It's such a collage of. First of all, a great representation of Bahamians, but
absolutely.
The colors, the material, how it all comes together. It's just fascinating to look at.
Absolutely. It's a mixed media, triptych. It's beautiful. And to me, it also talks about the power of Bahamian women, which is something that I've really experienced. I've met so many incredible Bahamian women since I've been here, and men too, of course. But Bahamian women, there's something about them. They hold their heads just a little bit higher. Incredible, powerful women, and I think this really speaks to their power. So we were so pleased that they chose this for our main floor of collective floor. And you can see we've got seating for employees to come out. They can enjoy their lunches. They have meetings out here. We have 15 meeting rooms in this building.
Really?
Do you know how many we had in our old embassy? 2. We had 2
This is
200.
This is a real step up.
It's a real step up. So it's wonderful. So not only will it house internal meetings, but we also plan to bring our contacts in, our visitors in. It'll give places for us throughout the building to meet with the community as well. So it really opens that up.
Awesome. All right. Now, alongside diplomacy, security remains a critical pillar of the U.S.-Bahamas cooperation. To explore this, we turn our attention now to Commander Victor Lang. He's a senior defense official and chief of the Office of Defense Cooperation. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me today.
So let's dive right in. I want to talk a little bit about your background and your role here in the Bahamas.
Sure. My background, I've been a naval officer for just over 23 years now, and I've come into the attaché role from my previous assignment and this one. Previous to that, I was a helicopter pilot in the Navy, and I've had a lot of different assignments, which I feel is very helpful in preparing me, getting exposed to different problem sets and dealing in the dynamic environment of diplomacy.
So how does the Office of Defense Cooperation really work within the embassy environment?
That's a great question. It's a small, but I would say mighty force here. A couple of us here that are concentrated on all of our defense cooperation. So all of our activities, operations, investments with the Bahamas geared towards defense funnels through our office. So we're really the cornerstone of the interaction between the Royal Bahamas Defense Force and the Department of Defense within the United States.
And with all of those things under that banner, what are your priorities? What are the key things that you are most focused on?
Right. I would say our main priority is enhancing maritime domain awareness. And so in the role of enhancing maritime domain awareness, we've made quite a few investments, whether that is with training or fixed site radars that help the Bahamas illuminate problems and illicit trafficking and smuggling that's happening in their own waters. And then building the capacity of the Royal Bahamas Defense Force to become more efficient, more effective, and more lean organization.
One of the greatest issues that continues to face the Bahamas, and not just now, but for decades, is the issue of illegal migration. And how does the U.S. collaborate with the Bahamas in our fight against illegal migration?
Absolutely, because at the pillar of it, the safety, security, and prosperity of both our nations is the cornerstone of all that we do. And by building the capacity of the Defense Force to understand the problem set as migration flows through the waters, and then deal with it in a timely and efficient manner that's both safe for the Bahamas Defense Force and for the United States, is really kind of the cornerstone of what we're getting at. We have a lot of investments with fixed site radars. As I was saying, they help really illuminate the problem, but then whether it's vessels or training, we make sure that they have the tools to counter illegal migration every day.
So while illegal migration is, I guess, a decades-old problem for us, like the rest of the world, there is this issue of global human trafficking, which is, big business, but also something that's cross-border and equally as vexing. So what are some of the efforts that you're involved in with human trafficking?
I think human trafficking, we see a lot of parallels between whether it's human trafficking, illegal narcotics trafficking, whatever, the illicit flow of goods, whether that's people or products. I think it's very similar crossing through our respective waters into our shores. So we really try to make sure that the RBDF has the necessary tools, and whether that's physical tools, such as ships that are prepared and able to go to sea, analytical tools, such as training for personnel that can share information and intelligence with each other, and then understanding with processes that allow them to do that in an efficient and effective manner.
All right. So what are the challenges that come along with migration and trafficking issues? I mean, we've talked about some of the collaboration, but what are the main challenges that come with addressing those issues?
Sure. I think the Bahamas knows this all too well with the size and the scope, right? With the vast waters that you have here in the beautiful Bahamas, over 700 islands and a geographic area that spans roughly the size of Florida. I think that helps when you can convey it in that context to American policymakers and defense officials, just how large of an area. I think that's probably the number one challenge, is having a large water and landmass area spread out over such a vast area. It really presents a challenge. And again, I'd like to draw back to that maritime domain awareness is kind of the heart at what we're trying to help build, because when the Bahamas has a better picture and they understand what's going on, it's easier to tackle those collaborative challenges together.
How do you balance humanitarian concerns with security measures? Because particularly when you're talking about things like migration, illegal migration, even human trafficking, it's very different for me from the narcotics side of it, because people are involved. So how do you balance those humanitarian concerns against security issues?
Absolutely. I think respect for the rule of law is kind of the baseline for which all of our collaboration and all of our actions, and whether that's, currently you have Bahamians in officer training in the United States right now. And so that kind of sets the foundation, right? And so they have an understanding of what is, how we should treat each other, even in situations where we're trying to fight illegal migration. There has to be a standardized or a baseline kind of respect for humanity.
Okay. And how do you approach securing the southern U.S. border from this region, because we sit right there, and that is that's what makes us neighbors and so close. How do you go about securing that border when you look at this region and the many countries that are in this region that make up the Caribbean and Central America as well? All these countries, are transiting or can transit, or the folks in these countries can transit these waters and this territory to get into the United States.
I think that's a great question, because the United States Northern Command, under which I work, it also is looking at the entire U.S. southern border, right? And so when we understand a comprehensive approach to the border, we're very keenly aware that when we enforce one area, or we have become more stringent in our controls, that opens, or that forces, that could very well force the flow to other areas. And the Bahamas being a vulnerable area to the east with such large waterways. So it really is a collaborative approach, not just with multinational countries through the Caribbean, but also within our own forces, whether that's through the Joint Task Force Southern Border, which addresses border security under this administration, or collaboration among agencies. It really takes the whole team getting after the problem.
I think you may have touched on it or mentioned it briefly, but I want to go back to the issue of training and what kind of specific training and exchange programs that we are able to benefit from.
Absolutely. We have, every year, we dedicate $250,000 specifically for what we call the International Military and Education Training. On top of that, we have other programs and expert exchanges that helps enhance our collaboration and understanding with each other. Currently, we have 4 officers from the Royal Bahamas Defense Force at the U.S. Coast Guard, what we call Officer Indoctrination School, which is the commissioning school, and it's a foundational, the Defense Force Commander, Commodore Moxie, a proud graduate from Coast Guard officer training. So that's a heritage and a legacy that we look to continue between our two countries.
So we've learned a lot about what you do and your role here, but how does the embassy really facilitate and help you to carry out your specific mission?
Well, I think we have what we call a whole of government approach, and that is really how we're most effective, where we see that certain agencies can collaborate, everybody bring a little bit different angle to the problem set, or a little bit different niche capability, and whether that is through enforcement from the Drug Enforcement Agency, the Internal Revenue Service that would be looking at financial crimes, or a myriad of other agencies throughout the embassy. It really speaks to that whole of government approach and looking to see where collaboration can be in every single aspect.
Final question, how much of a role does technology play in the work that you do?
You know, I think that is probably one of the most exciting areas. The collaboration and the innovation of technology is something that in the defense role, it's really starting to take a front seat, whether that is from unmanned systems, AI, helping with analyzing a problem set. For countries that may not have a vast amount of resources, it really is a game changer enhancing those tools. We have the ability to take vast amounts of data and be able to analyze it to really get at the heart of what is the problem versus trying to sort through sometimes what could be overbearing and overburdensome.
Commander, this has been, another great conversation. We thank you so much. Thank you for the work that you do. Thank you for the cooperation, for the partnership. We really appreciate it. It really is a long-standing partnership between the two countries, and this conversation really helps us again to unpack that and appreciate what that means for both sides. So thank you again. Best of luck to you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
All right. So after the break, we'll sit with the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs and take a closer look at what's changing for applicants at the consular section. This is a special edition of On the Record. We'll be back right after this. So joining us now here on the set is Todd Christensen. He's the director of the Bureau of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs. He's here to share how the U.S. partners with Bahamian law enforcement to combat things like crime, smuggling, and to strengthen port security. Todd, welcome here to the set. Glad to have you with us.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
Let's talk a little bit about your background and your current role here in the embassy.
Sure. Background, I've worked within the International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs in several posts. Having a nautical background, actually, I came from the Dominican Republic, who share some of the same concerns in terms of the introduction of criminal organizations in an island setting. I came here about 2 years ago as a director of International Narcotics and Law Enforcement Affairs, and work very closely with U.S. law enforcement officers here in the Bahamas, as well as back in Washington, to try to collaboratively address criminal enterprise activities that are operating here in the Bahamas.
Well, you talked about your role a bit, but what has been the mandate really of, or what has been INL's mandate here in the Bahamas specifically?
The mandate is to create secure borders and secure communities that we both can share and prosper in. It's not a singular mission, it's a shared mission. We work very closely with Bahamian officials, both in the police force, the defense force, and all the other law enforcement offices, in order to collectively and collaboratively try to address the criminal elements that are actually making our communities unsafe.
By our very topography and how we are made up as an island chain, and the many ways that people are able to transit the Bahamas and things are able to move, does our geography make us or make the situation a little bit more difficult?
It makes it more difficult. The archipelago in itself lends itself to criminal elements because of the vast majority of the islands here are uninhabited. So with that comes the difficulties of supervising, the vigilance associated with trying to oversee those areas, make it opportune for the transnational criminal organizations to operate out of.
How significant is crime or the crime and narcotics challenge regionally? I know you've been talking about in the Bahamian context, but these are issues that really transcend our relationship, but regionally. And how big of an issue is it regionally?
It's significant regionally, and that's why the United States is taking a collective and collaborative approach, working with many like-minded and allied countries to try to address this issue. We work closely with CARICOM, which, as you know, is the Caribbean community, to try to create standard policies and operating procedures so that when the business does move from country to country, you're able to actually coordinate within a law enforcement environment coherently. That united front acts as a deterrent towards these international organizations.
How does it work when you're trying to coordinate and collaborate when you've got countries with different governments, different policies, different laws? Does it get really complicated when you're talking about now transnational criminal activity?
It can be a little difficult. There's obviously some language barriers as well. There's some political constructs that make it a little more difficult, but working within the CARICOM construct and having that unified approach makes it a little easier. INL is represented in most of the Caribbean nations, so from my perspective, when I coordinate with a counterpart in an embassy, we take on similar policy and programming perspectives to make sure that they're consistent. So it requires quite a lot of coordination, but like you mentioned, there is a common problem set that everybody shares, and I think that is a unifying call to make sure that everybody works together closely.
What are some of the programs that you're invested in locally? I'm talking about INL. You've talked about, I think you touched on a couple of things that you're working on, but what are some of the programs that you're invested in locally that you're probably most proud of?
Probably most proud of, there's a long history of U.S. involvement and collaboration with the Bahamas in law enforcement. And some of the programs predate me, but I'm just amplifying them more. One of which most people know is the Operations Bahamas and Turks and Caicos, the OPET program, which started in 1982. That program has withstood the test of time. It's 43 years old. It is a program that allows for the collaboration of vigilance over Bahamian U.S. territorial waters to make sure that we can interdict drug trafficking operators. That in and of itself is a testament to the enduring collaboration between the United States and the Bahamas. Other such programs that we're very proud of that are more recent. As of 2004 is a comprehensive maritime agreement that our U.S. Coast Guard has exclusively with the Bahamas. This agreement allows for the United States and the Bahamas to collaboratively patrol the waters to better manage migration movements. This is very important. It acts as a deterrent not only to prevent mass migration activities, but it also acts as a way to protect potential loss of life on the high seas. Which is also a big mandate of
I
ours.
was about to say, you know, a lot of times you will hear about the work that the Coast Guard is doing in migration and things of that nature, but a lot of times the U.S. Coast Guard is involved in a lot of rescue work, the saving of lives, and that's a very significant thing to a country to have that kind of help right next door or right in our, you know, right in our confines whenever we need it.
Absolutely, and we take that mission very seriously. As I mentioned, since 2004, we've been operating with our Comprehensive Maritime Agreement. Our Coast Guard has been working very closely with search and rescue capabilities, building up the Bahamians' abilities to become internationally certified in SRA, and they've just recently achieved that, which is a significant milestone. We also work on shipwriter agreements to facilitate the riding on board by Bahamian defense and police forces to kind of see operational activities and see how they're going to mirror best practices in order to convey those expertise to the Bahamians.
I want to talk a bit about your work in port security and why that is so vital.
Well, it goes to the shared prosperity that both our countries are seeking. As you know, the ports, for instance, Freeport is a mere 3.5-hour boat ride away from the United States. And we believe in working with the port authorities here in the Bahamas, working with the Ministry of Transportation and all of the authorities, that a safe and secure movement of licit traffic is important to our shared prosperity. And so the United States government, the embassy in Nassau in particular, is working with port authorities to introduce enhanced inspection capabilities to make sure that only licit cargo is moving through, and to also work on port security infrastructure to make sure that the ports themselves are secure and operating according to international standards.
Illegal weapons smuggling is a big issue at many ports, not just in the Bahamas, but around the world. How is this cooperation, or has the cooperation helped in stemming that weapon smuggling or the flow of weapons into the country?
Yeah, back to your point about a regional coordination, we have the Crime Gun Investigation Unit. That's actually down in Port of Spain. That is a regional hub that identifies illicit gun trafficking flows, primarily coming out of the United States, and how they actually move through the Caribbean, how they're actually deployed and distributed to nefarious organizations, and how we can actually trace and track those flows to better disrupt those networks. And then once those guns are seized, we're working closely here in the Bahamas to make sure that they have the investigative capabilities, for instance, to restore serial numbers in investigations, but to also properly decommission those weapons. Once they've concluded the investigative side of things, the U.S. Embassy is working very closely with the police force and the defense force to properly decommission the guns, to destroy them so that they can never be used again in illegal activities.
You kind of answered my next question about information sharing and how important is that in this fight, and at what level are you sharing information? I think you alluded to a bit of it just in the last answer. You talked about the illicit weapons, but beyond that, you know, how is information sharing helping both sides?
It's significant, and without proper information sharing, it's really difficult to fight crime, right? And the political will is significantly high here in the Bahamas to not just exchange one way, but both directions. Good examples are, for instance, red notices. As you probably are aware, Interpol, who operates throughout the Caribbean, will sometimes advertise a red notice of a wanted Bahamian for charges here in the Bahamas, but they've absconded, for instance, to the United States. That information sharing by Bahamian authorities to us in the embassy, we can take that information, share it with U.S. law enforcement in the United States, identify those individuals, and then work with your Department of Public Prosecution to obtain a provisional arrest warrant, and then bring that person back to the Bahamas so they can face justice. That type of information sharing, it's law enforcement sensitive, but it's robust, and it makes both sides very safe.
Our final question as we're wrapping up. What key message would you like Bahamians to take away about the work that you do within INL?
I would like them to know that this is a partnership. It's a long-standing partnership. It's a partnership based on mutual respect, mutual trust, and it's common goals of making our community safer. Because without a safe and secure Bahamas, there won't be a safe and secure United States. We both parties have a lot of interest in making sure that this partnership works, and we just value that commitment that we see day to day by Bahamian authorities in making this come true.
Todd, I want to first of all say how much I've learned from this conversation. Operations like OPBAT I've known of for a long time, but there are so many other things happening as a result of the work that you're doing and a result of the cooperation. I think it's helped to give us a good, clearer view of how the two countries are working together, again, as you said, and others, to help to keep our citizens safe, no matter where you are, in the two countries. So thank you very much. Continued success to you in the work that you do, and thanks for stopping by and chatting with us today.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
All right.
So this is what I call our lucky Lusca.
Okay.
But this is another piece by the famous Bahamian artist Antonius Roberts. And this is made from we call it a living sculpture. He calls them living sculptures. It's made from a 200-year-old tamarind tree. And it actually grew right in this site. And we were just so sad to have to remove it.
Right.
But what Antonius did for us is say, let's make art out of it. And that's what he does, right? So the tree continues to live on. And the story of this tree is that when Bahamians were working down at the port, this tree was here and it was a gathering spot. At the end of the day, folks would come up here, have a drink, to share stories from their day, and they'd say, well, let's meet at the tamarind tree. So we wanted to preserve the spot and the tree itself. So the tree, it's living, it's continuing to change, it's not sealed, so the wood continues to change and morph, but it remains beautiful, just like the relationship. And it's a Lusca, and on top is a bald eagle, right? And together, in tandem, we're working together. So it's symbolism of the Bahamian and the relationship with the United States. And it's really just, it's so gorgeous. We come down all the time and look at it, enjoy it. I see employees gathering out here. So Mr. Roberts' work continues here at the U.S. Embassy. We're thrilled to have it.
And of course, an embassy is just not about diplomacy and security. It's also where thousands of people come for services every year. To explain the improvements in consular services, we are joined, by an improvement in consular and visa services. We are joined by Consular Chief Karina Kanan. Karina, welcome to On the Record. I want to say welcome to set, but we're being welcomed into your fabulous building here. So thank you so much for accommodating us today.
Thank you very much, Jerome. It's a pleasure to be here today.
So tell us, first of all, about your career journey and into consular work. And what all does it entail?
Okay, sure. So I've worked for the Department of State for almost 16 years now as a consular officer. It's actually, I've had the chance to live all over the world doing consular work. My first assignment was in Ecuador. And then actually my second assignment for the Department of State was in the Bahamas. So I've been here now for 2 years overseeing our consular section. Staff likes to say I have sand in my shoe. I must have had sand in my shoes because I came back. But in between, I've been in Botswana. I was in Botswana. I worked in the Caucasus. So before that, I have a legal background, which helps with consular work. I was a practicing attorney in Massachusetts before joining the Department of State. But very lucky to be back in the Bahamas, and it's been, I will tell you, a thrill to be here for the move to the new embassy. In my previous assignment, I worked in the old embassy for 2 years. So to be here and see the transition through has been very special for me personally as well.
Well, as the saying goes, it's always better in the Bahamas. And I'll take that. You don't have to say anything. I'll take that on.
Of course.
So now, how does this new facility really help to improve services for American citizens? First, I'll start there.
So one, the location, right? So we're right up East Street from the port. The location couldn't be better. I mean, you can, it's visible. The new embassy is visible from Paradise Island even, right? So, so the location is excellent. Also the size of it, right? I think we were just tucked away. It was hard for people to even know where the U.S. Embassy was before, tucked away there on Queen Street. So, we have a larger space to welcome U.S. citizens, residents, visitors. as well as Bahamians who need to come in for visa services.
So has this facility also improved that experience for folks coming into the consular section?
Well, I appreciate that question. I look forward to you seeing for yourself how I think it speaks for itself, how it's going to improve the experience. The facility is brand new. It's beautiful. First of all, we have our own entrance to the embassy too. When you're facing the new embassy from Shirley Street, the consular section has its own entrance to the left-hand side. You pass by a beautiful sculpture by Antonius Roberts there on your right as you're entering. So I look forward to you seeing it and seeing our large, spacious, reception room. So there are a lot of chairs, more room in general. There's a children's seating area. So everything new, improved, and more spacious.
Has this made the process of getting visas more efficient?
So we're 1 week in the new facility.
So you're still unpacking and finding stuff, and yeah.
Yes, but sure. No, I think of course it will do so, and it will make it more pleasant. It should make it more efficient. There's a lot of there's seating outside. There's covered seating outside. It's a bit more of a walk up in, but it's more spacious. It's very comfortable. I think everyone will be pleased when they come in. We want everyone to have a great experience when they come in, and if they don't, of course we want to hear about that. So please give us your feedback. But I'm actively engaged in making sure that people do have a positive experience.
One of the complaints I think previously was the space, and there were some things done to accommodate, as the demand was growing. But very happy to hear that it is a more comfortable, more spacious. Looking forward to the tour so people can see it as well. Can you explain to us a bit more about how applicants can be better prepared when they are applying for visas? What things do they need to do to make the process more seamless for them? And I think that's what gives people a lot of anxiety, the process itself, and what can they do to make it a lot more seamless and to make it go smoother?
Thank you so much for that question. We do want people, we think a lot about how to get people the information that they need to have a good experience and have it be seamless. So we have a wealth of information regarding the visa application process on our website. That embassy website is bs.usembassy.gov. Again, bs.usembassy.gov. On the upper right-hand corner of that main embassy website, there's a menu. And if you go to visas, that brings you to our visas page, and it has comprehensive information. I really encourage every individual thinking of applying for a visa to go to that website and read the detailed information and just walk yourself through it. Take time. I think it's user-friendly. We are updating it constantly to keep it user-friendly. So they should read the information once they have an appointment confirmed as well. There's a confirmation email. They should read the contents of that email as it contains useful information. But I will take the opportunity to say some common mistakes we see when people do show up for their interview. They don't have a photo that was taken within the last 6 months. So if everyone could please bring a photo that was taken in the last 6 months, not the one that you used for your last visa application or for your passport application 2 years ago, but bring a photo taken in the last 6 months. Also, when you come to the new embassy, we do have security requirements. So some things that we're seeing that will slow down the process and take some time will be if people come with electronic devices, things with a chip. Don't bring anything like that to your visa interview, please. Cosmetic liquids like perfumes, that's going to slow down the security process, might require people might come alone and have prohibited items, and then they have to find a place to house those items and return. So that does cause some slowdown. So if folks could just avoid bringing things with chips, phones, and cosmetic liquids, that helps the process.
And all of these things are contained on the website. So one, go on and read what the requirements are, but also the things that are prohibited as well that can slow you down.
Yes, exactly. Same thing with the visa application, the DS-160. It's the visa application form. And once you filled it out, you get a confirmation page, which people print and bring. Sometimes they forget that, or they never finished completing their DS-160 application. So unfortunately, we do see a number of people who come for their interview, but they don't have a timely or complete application. They need to be sent away and complete that before they come. So just going through the process step by step, ensuring that you've done it completely and reading the information that's on the visas page of the website, I think should ensure a smooth process.
So just recently, there's been a lot of discussion about the process for Haitians applying for visas, for U.S. visas, through this embassy. I want us to talk a little bit about that, spend a little bit of time on that, and what does that mean for the services here?
Sure. So actually, the announcement, came that because we don't have an embassy that's providing regular, normal consular services in Port-au-Prince because of the security situation. So they've designated Nassau as the embassy to provide those services. Now, in June, there was a presidential proclamation that suspended the issuance of visas to non-immigrant visas to residents and citizens of Haiti. However, for immigrant visas, so we do both non-immigrant, which is the visitor visa, student visas are examples of non-immigrant visas, but we also deal with immigrant visas. Those are the family reunification visas for U.S. citizens if they're petitioning a foreign spouse or a foreign parent, and we also do those visas here. Those visas for certain categories of immigrant visas were not suspended for Haitians. So we are able to issue visas, for example, parents or spouses or children of who are Haitian but are U.S. citizens. They are able to file those petitions and we can issue them. Of course, we don't make the rules allowing, and it's up to the government of the Bahamas to make the decision on who they allow into the country. So, but we are able to have visa appointments for them, and the country has been designated as the country for Haitians because of our suspended routine services for consular visas in Haiti.
Mm-hmm. Do you expect or do you anticipate an increase because of that announcement, and are you prepared to deal with that increase?
So appointment availability is based on our staffing and it's based on what we can handle. So we are not going to change appointment availability, and the priority is for Bahamians and for residents of the Bahamas. That's our priority. Right now, I will say we try to keep our wait time for Bahamians low, and it is. Everyone also who makes a visa application, a lot of your viewers probably are aware of this, but for those who aren't, I'll say if they really need an appointment to be expedited, everybody gets the opportunity to make one request for an expedited appointment. We do try to grant as many of those requests as we can, and really we're granting almost all of them, but it is based on our staffing and our capacity. But the wait time right now for Bahamians is quite low.
What I don't think a lot of people even realize is that you process visas for non-Bahamians as well. I know people that do come here for visa appointments, and people apply and then come to the Bahamas to receive their visas. And that's something that's ongoing as well, correct?
Well, it's good timing on this question because actually the policy on this actually just changed this weekend. So if you look at travel.state.gov, travel.state.gov is our State Department website where we put country-specific information. We also put visa news there. So actually residents of whatever country they're encouraged to apply in their country of residence or country of citizenship. That's the policy.
Finally, as we're out of time, final question. What would you most like Bahamians to understand about consular services here at the embassy? What's that thing that you want people to take away and say, aha, or, oh, okay, now I get it?
Services. Well, I think I would say that we're delighted to welcome Bahamians, to the section. We're delighted when people want to visit the United States, whether it's to be a student, whether it's to be a visitor, whether it's to do shopping, whether it's to visit a relative. However, our paramount concern is, of course, for the safety and security of the United States, and so all decisions do need to be made with that in mind, right? And you heard our Secretary of State, has said recently that there is a zero tolerance policy for visa misuse. So I would just say out there, while we as consular officers might be very understanding that individuals may have made a mistake or this or that, but that's, our policy, and everything's made, visa decisions are made with the safety and security of the U.S. Is as the backdrop. I also would like to remind, everyone, I think people forget that our the primary purpose of our embassies overseas is the safety and security of U.S. citizens, of our citizens. And so a lot of people might think of our consular section as just the place where visas are processed, but it's actually where we provide a lot of services to U.S. citizens. And with over 8 million U.S. citizen visitors to the Bahamas every year, it's a place where we're receiving a lot of U.S. citizens. We're dealing with some very difficult cases as well, involving accidents, especially you've seen jet skis in the news, jet ski safety, and promoting really increasing security in that sector is a big part of what we're doing in our section. So you think of visas with consular work, but we're also really involved with safety and security of U.S. citizens overseas.
So Karina, you've got a huge job. It is the one thing that people talk about the most and are most interested in, but we learned a lot, and I'm happy to hear that there's a lot of information out there that folks can just go and read on their own and help for them to better understand the process and what is involved. So thank you very much for sharing with us, and I'm looking forward to seeing the new consular section. I'm very excited.
Can't wait to show it to you.
All right, so thank you so very much, and thank you, and keep up the great work. And we're happy to have you back in the Bahamas.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you. We'll keep working hard.
All right, most definitely. So we've got some final thoughts and close out right after this.
New state-of-the-art consular waiting area.
This is amazing. It is really nice. Even before you start, the moment I walked in, I thought, oh wow.
Yeah, it's incredibly comfortable, state-of-the-art. We have 10 windows to serve the Bahamian and Americans alike. So you'll see folks coming in here for passport services or American citizen services, which include visa issues as well. Mm-hmm. And so we see several hundred clients every week. And behind that window, you have a friendly consular officer to help you with what service you might have come in for. And it's just a beautiful space. And if you ever saw our waiting line outside of the old embassy, you know, and most people have, this spot's a lot more comfortable.
Sure, and there's a kids area over here.
Exactly, we've got a kids area. If you have to sit down, we have areas for you to fill out applications, websites to ask questions. We have monitors which show information about traveling to the United States. Queuing systems, I mean, just wonderful, beautiful place. I wish every consular section looked like this. We are so fortunate to have it here, right here in the Bahamas. A very welcome place for Bahamians to come for visa services, so we're thrilled and proud of it.
As we close out tonight's episode, the U.S. Embassy officially raising its flag at number 235 Shirley Street, a powerful symbol of the partnership, investment, and continued promise of diplomacy with the Bahamas. A special thank you to Charge d'Affaires Kimberly Furnish and her team for accommodating us here and answering all of our questions today. That's going to do it for this episode of On the Record. Once again, I'm Jerome Sawyer. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.